Obachan, I noticed there are beautiful flowers blooming in your garden. What are they called? I've not seen them before.
Oh, yes. They are morning glory flowers. Could you pick the best-looking one and bring it to me? I would like to put it in the flower vase in our tea room.
Okay, but you have so many flowers. Why don't I bring you many? Then it can be a huge, colorful bouquet. You can show it off to your friends.
It looks like I have to tell you the story of Sen No Rikyu.
Sen No who?
Sen No Rikyu. He is also known as the Tea Saint, and he taught us that Japanese tea ceremony is about simplicity and humility. For example, using just one flower instead of a bunch of them. Maybe you have heard of the Japanese term for this philosophy, Wabhi Sabi.
Wasabi? Obachan, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of wasabi. I've tried it before with sushi, and it made me jump off from my chair. It felt like a bee sting inside my nose.
I agree, it sounds a lot like wasabi. But don't worry, it is nothing like it. Wabi Sabi is a beautiful Japanese philosophy that Sen No Rikyu applied in his tea ceremonies. Wabi Sabi comes from Zen Buddhism, and Rikyu combined Wabi Sabi and Chanoyu, the art of Japanese tea ceremony. The result of this combination is what we know today as Wabi Cha.
Okay, that sounds very interesting. I would like to know more about it.
So, Wabi Sabi means finding beauty in imperfection, impermanence, and incompletion.
Whoa, wait a minute. Obachan, I would need a dictionary for those words.
Sorry, Kei. Let me make this simpler for you. For example, when a tea bowl is broken, we might think that, oh, now it is useless and ugly. We should get a new perfect-looking one. But instead, Wabi Sabi teaches us that there is beauty in things that are broken and imperfect. The cracks in an old tea bowl can be seen as a unique design. This helps us to appreciate and accept that things never stay the same, that all things are imperfect and temporary, but still, they can be beautiful.
Oh, okay. That's much better. Thank you, Obachan. You know, I have many t-shirts, but my favorite one is the one I got for my birthday 2 years ago. That t-shirt looks old and used, but somehow it only makes it more comfortable to use. And I love the worn-off look of the t-shirt. I guess I'll call it my Wabi Sabi t-shirt from now on.
That's a great idea, Kei. I'm really happy to know that you already understand Wabi Sabi in your own way.
So, Obachan, how did Rikyu apply Wabi Sabi to his tea ceremonies?
Before Sen No Rikyu, the culture of Japanese tea ceremony was very materialistic. Powerful people used to show off their luxurious tea bowls, large rooms, and wealth through these ceremonies.
I guess it was a bit like how people these days flex their designer clothing and expensive cars on social media?
Yes, you could say that. It was like #golden bowls from China. Jokes apart, it was also fashionable to use imported tea bowls from China, usually made from gold. They were called karamono. But then, Sen No Rikyu changed that tradition by using locally made tea bowls. One famous type is Rikyu-ware, or Rikyu-style tea bowls. Sen No Rikyu collaborated with a local craftsman to make this type of black tea bowl instead of the golden ones.
Wow, sounds like he was quite brave to go against the traditions of the time.
Yes, absolutely. In the history of Japanese tea ceremony, Sen No Rikyu is like a silent tea hero. Or Tiro, in a way. He also designed a tiny tea hut and popularized the use of these small spaces for tea ceremonies, instead of large, luxurious tea rooms.
I think I'm starting to understand what Rikyu really wanted to do. He wanted to show that the spirit and teachings of the tea ceremony are more important than showing off status and power through tea ceremonies.
Yes, that is exactly what he wanted everyone to know.
I'm starting to admire Rikyu now. I do have a question, though. How did Rikyu make his teachings and tea ceremony style so widely accepted? I mean, if the powerful lords at the time were doing the exact opposite of Rikyu's teachings, how did Rikyu change everyone's way of thinking?
That is a very good question, Kei. I'm happy you asked that. To tell you the truth, and brace yourself for this, because it is very tragic. Rikyu was ordered to commit suicide by the lord of that time, due to Rikyu's different way of thinking.
Oh no, that's so sad.
Yes, it is. But Rikyu respected the samurai traditions of the time, and he followed the orders given by his lord. The final thing he did before his death was to perform a tea ceremony for those who were close to him.
Wow, tea ceremony must have been the most important thing in his life for Rikyu.
Yes, and to answer your question, Rikyu's teachings impacted people from all walks of life, because he served two of Japan's most powerful men at the time, Oda Nobunaga and Toyotomi Hideyoshi.
You mean the Nobunaga and Hideyoshi?
Yes, exactly. Nobunaga, Hideyoshi, and another lord called Tokugawa Ieyasu are called the three great unifiers of Japan. Before them, Japan was divided into small states, and they were always fighting each other. Nobunaga, Hideyoshi, and Tokugawa brought all of them together as one powerful country, which is Japan.
It must have been scary for Rikyu to work for such powerful men.
I bet it was quite challenging, but as I have said, Rikyu was not scared to uphold the values of the Japanese tea ceremony, even if it meant disagreeing with the powerful men he worked for.
Wow, that is so courageous. By the way, Obachan, you were going to tell me a story about Morning Glory Flower and Rikyu, remember?
Oh yes, thank you for reminding me. So, you already know that Rikyu was working as the tea master for Hideyoshi, right? One day, Rikyu invited Hideyoshi to a special Morning Glory tea ceremony.
Wow, he must have prepared a garden full of Morning Glory flowers, just like your garden, Obachan.
Yes, that's what anyone would think, right? Hideyoshi expected the same. He was hoping for many Morning Glory flowers, but when he went to Rikyu's tea hut, he saw that all the Morning Glory flowers had been plucked out from Rikyu's garden, and there were no flowers at all.
Oh no! What? Hideyoshi must have been so angry.
Yes, he was. But when he went into Rikyu's dark tea hut, there was only one bright ray of light coming through the window. And right in that ray of light was a beautiful Morning Glory flower inside a hanaire.
Wow, how cool! So Rikyu went through the trouble of planning all this ahead and plucking out all the other Morning Glory flowers from his garden, just so that Hideyoshi can have this special experience?
Yes, exactly. There is a specific Japanese phrase for this. Ichigo, Ichie.
Go where?
Ichigo means one life, and Ichie means one-time opportunity. This phrase is a very important philosophy in Japanese culture, especially in the tea ceremony.
One life, one-time opportunity. It's still a bit unclear to me.
It means that every chance we get to meet someone should be treasured, as it is the only time we can have with the person in our lives. So, every meeting is different and special compared to the previous or the next one. That is why Rikyu went through all the trouble to make that certain tea ceremony special for Hideyoshi, even though they did many tea ceremonies together.
Alright, now I get it. I've never seen it this way, but when I think about it, every time I hang out with my best friend, it is special and unique in its own way, even though we hang out almost every day.
Yes, exactly, Kei.
Now I'm starting to understand more and more that Rikyu paid more importance to the values and principles of the Japanese tea ceremony, rather than focusing on the materialistic aspects.
Yes. Let's do a little quiz here. Can you name the 2 important philosophies that Rikyu incorporated into Japanese tea ceremony?
Yes, let me remember. Not wasabi. It was wabi-sabi. And Ichigo, Ichie.
Perfect, Kei. That's right.
Thank you, Obachan. By the way, you mentioned about Rikyu's tea hut in the Morning Glory story. Was that a hut made only for doing tea ceremonies?
Yes. It is called chashitsu, or tea room, and it is a room dedicated to performing tea ceremonies.
That is pretty awesome. I wish I had a room like that myself, just with my gaming things, like a game room.
Oh, well, maybe someday. Coming back to your question, do you know Rikyu's chashitsu was very different from the chashitsu of those times?
Really? How so?
Well, to begin with, Rikyu's tea hut was the smallest tea room ever made. It was only just enough space for the tea host and the guest to stand and sit.
Oh my! I hope none of Rikyu's guests were claustrophobic.
That's a good point, Kei. But the small size of the room made the participants of the tea ceremony to be aware of the tiniest sounds and sight. For example, you could hear the sound of breathing, the matcha tea powder being whisked, and the water being poured very clearly inside the room.
Wow, that sounds cool.
Rikyu's tea hut is very special, and it had a name of its own, Tai-an. There was another unique thing about Tai-an, and it is that it had a nijiri guchi.
Gucci? My friend has a bag of that one.
I am not sure about a bag, but nijiri guchi is the name of the type of entrance that Rikyu made for his tea hut. It is so small that everyone must bow down and take off their armory and swords, even the samurai, before they could enter the hut.
That is so genius!
It is indeed. Bowing down showed humility, and everyone entered as equals, no matter their social status or military agenda outside the tea ceremony.
That makes me think that Nijiri Gucci is even cooler than Gucci.
I'm glad you feel that way.
Hearing so much about Rikyu and his team makes me wish I could have seen it in person. I wish I could travel back to those times.
I wish that too, Kei. But you know what? You can visit Rikyu's tea hut, Tai-an, in Kyoto.
What? Really?
Yes. It is preserved as much as possible in its original form, and it is regarded as Japan's national treasure.
Obachan, let's go there soon once I'm done with my exams. Speaking of exams, one of the subjects is going to be French language, and tomorrow's my first French class. I feel so nervous.
I can totally relate to how you feel. I feel the same kind of nervousness when I'm first starting something. But do you know what? I have a perfect poem by Rikyu to make you feel better.
A poem? By Rikyu? I thought he was a tea master. I did not know he was a poet too.
Yes, Rikyu had a very artistic mind. He was a poet, architect, and he also practiced ikebana, the Japanese art of flower arrangement.
Wow, he's so multi-talented.
You mean to say multi-talented? So, there is something called Rikyu Hyakushu. It means the 100 poems by Rikyu. It is a compilation of Rikyu's teachings in the form of poems. One of these songs is perfect for how you are feeling about beginning your French class.
Tell me, Obachan. I can't wait.
The poem goes like this. The best teacher you can ever have is your own determination to enter a certain path.
Sounds very deep. I guess what Rikyu means is that our strong willingness to learn something as a beginner is the best teacher we can ever have. When we begin something new, we're scared. But the fact that we have made up our mind to learn this new thing, we have a big motivation to learn, and we try very hard to improve ourselves.
Very well said, Kei. You are brilliant. There is one hidden meaning as well to this poem.
Really?
Yes. It is to always treasure and apply the beginner mentality, no matter which stage of learning we are in, so that we do not become satisfied and stuck in our comfort zone. Regardless of our level of expertise in a certain subject, there is always room for improvement, and hence, we should always be as eager to grow and improve as we were when we first began.
Wow, what a wise teaching! To be honest, I am a bit surprised that the teaching from the Japanese green tea ceremony can be applied to real-life situations. I always thought that Chinoyu is a bit detached from daily life.
I am glad that you have realized that Chinoyu is actually intertwined with our daily lives, and we can apply the spirit of Chinoyu to our everyday lives. Oh, speaking of real life, I remember I have to water my morning glory plant. If you like this video, please click on the like and subscribe to our channel. You may also enjoy this video about samurai and tea, if you haven't watched it yet. Thank you very much for watching.